We are excited to have all of you here today showing your support as a community in leading with values. It is my pleasure to bring Jeremy Lyle to the stage, the Executive Director at Heart to Heart. Jeremy's passion is to help people discover and deploy their purpose. For over 15 years, he has coached dozens of individuals and teams to live out their core values. He believes that the foundational skills that come from the spiritual life have the most potential to inspire people in the work that they do. Jeremy and the Heart to Heart team have been working hard over this past year to see the impact of Heart to Heart's work grow in organizations and in the community. And even though we agree everything that matters cannot be measured, he wants to share with you a little bit about the measurable impact Heart to Heart is having on individuals and organizational lives. Jeremy.
Thank you, Catherine. Well, good morning, everyone. Woo! That'll get you awake here if you're not already. Great to see you all and to be together this morning, and welcome, as Catherine already said, to the 26th annual Greater Akron Speaks Out for Values Breakfast. I want to begin with a few thank yous this morning to our incredible sponsors. Our gold sponsor for this morning, the Maynard Family Foundation. Our silver sponsors, Akron Children's Hospital, Ann Brennan in honor of David, NMG Aerospace, and United Way of Summit County. In addition to these sponsors, I also want to thank all of our amazing patron sponsors, bronze sponsors, nickel sponsors, and in-kind sponsors who are listed on the back of your program this morning. And we're also grateful for each and every one of you for the workplace and leadership values that you embody in our community. We also want to take a moment to recognize any elected officials and men and women serving to protect our city and our country. If you would just stand to be recognized for a moment, we want to acknowledge your presence with us here today. Thank you. I also want to thank the Breakfast Committee, especially our co-chairs, Catherine O'Malley and Kat Pestian, and our Heart to Heart team, staff, board members, and facilitators, our individual supporters, and our volunteers who give their very best each and every day to ensure that Heart to Heart remains a vital and growing part of the Akron community. Would you also please stand to be recognized this morning? I want to honor your work. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my wife, Christy, my everything that matters, for her values-based leadership that she demonstrates and for the constant inspiration she provides to me, to our 4 children, and to our community. So thank you for everything. Yeah, we can clap for that too. Well, it hit me several weeks ago while we were at a graduation celebration for our Enneagram series at the Akron Zoo. Doug Piakosh, president of the zoo, toasted to his team for their accomplishment and to their mission of fighting the 6th mass extinction. And I turned to my co-facilitator, Chris Williams, and I said, this is why we do what we do. We're fighting the 6th mass extinction. Not only that, but we're saving lives and comforting the sick at Akron Children's Hospital. We're accomplishing the bold goals through United Way of Summit County. We're providing job and family services through Summit County. We're serving the underserved in South Akron and North Akron through South Street Ministries and Urban Vision. We're ensuring that people have fair legal representation through Community Legal Aid and Buckingham, Doolittle, and Burroughs. We're connecting individuals to sustainable wages through Connexus NEO. We're empowering government leaders through City of Green and Akron and state and federal communications. We're encouraging victims of trauma through Victim Assistance Program. We're strengthening education through Akron Public Schools, Archbishop Hoban, Green High School, the University of Akron, Kent State. We're bolstering the local business community to put values first, and the list could go on and on. What I'm saying is this: our work wouldn't exist without you and your willingness to step up and pursue your passion and purpose in a values-centered way. So thank you. Today is a celebration of you. In addition to these and many more partnerships, we've also been innovating over the past year to launch our Mindful Leadership Series, which has now impacted over 100 leaders in our community, and that number is growing. In fact, you can learn a little bit more about an exciting new collaboration we have coming up titled Mindful Zoo, Mindful You. There's a flyer on your table. You can get more information about that. In addition to that, we have 3 groups helping to develop and retain the next generation of emerging leaders in the greater Akron area through our own Emerging Leaders series, our collaboration with ComDoc at Green High School, and the Better Akron Fellows program funded by the Knight Foundation, which combined have now provided in-depth leadership development for over 50 emerging leaders in the greater Akron area this past year. We also recently launched our Inclusive Leadership from Within series, providing space for leaders to go in-depth in learning how they can become more inclusive in their roles as leaders. And as I mentioned, we have several new collaborations, one of those with the Akron Zoo, another one with Loyola Retreat House coming up, bringing in Judith Valente in June to offer some unique leadership development experiences. And so while the theme for this morning is everything that matters cannot be measured, I want to take a few moments, as Catherine shared, to share with you about a few measures that are continuing to motivate and inspire us in our continued growth as an organization. Last year, I stood up here and I promised that we would give our very best to impact even more lives in this fiscal year. And I'm pleased to report that we are on track to impact over 2,000 lives this fiscal year through our programs, events, and services. Those 2,000 lives represent over 70 organizations, many who are represented here today, and probably if we counted each organization represented, we'd be in the hundreds. And over 300 people receiving some form of pro bono and tuition assistance. We've also eclipsed the number of workplace programs offered last year, which proves that we are fulfilling our goal of deeper engagement with our clients and offering more programs and services in the community. We have also finished our first year as a United Way Bold Goal Backbone partner, try saying that 5 times fast, which has allowed us to offer our services to those working to achieve the bold goals by 2025. And I almost forgot, but we also moved offices. We're now located in the Sojourner Truth Building at 37 North High Street, home of United Way at the Mandel Community Center. And we look forward to hosting many of you at an open house sometime in the near future. I promised our office manager that we would get past today before we started talking about open houses. While Heart to Heart offers many dynamic programs and services, our primary offering is our unique delivery model known as the Heart to Heart Way. This model has allowed us to deepen our work in organizations to help them accomplish their development goals and drive for success. You can see an image of that on the slide up here, on the screen up here, or on the 2-sided page at your table. What I can promise you is this: when Heart to Heart partners with you as an individual or an organization, you will experience the benefits of this process as it leads you from a place of awareness to appreciation to authenticity and ultimately to application. We know from experience and research supports that leaders who are self and other aware make the biggest difference in the lives of their employees and also on the organizational bottom line. Throughout this morning, you're going to hear and experience how the Heart to Heart Way is impacting lives in our community by focusing on everything that matters. Thank you and have a wonderful morning. You are in for a real treat with Billy Taylor, our guest speaker, and also our special musical guests, and those will be appearing in the videos. So thank you, enjoy your morning, and Catherine's gonna come back up.
Thank you, Jeremy, for sharing the Heart to Heart Way with us this morning. Awareness is a key element of this way and has been defined as gaining knowledge and/or perception of a situation or fact. So now let's hear from a few of our clients about the benefits they have found in becoming more self and other aware as a leader.
Well, it's important for me to be self-aware as a leader so I can direct my mind and be fully present to any situation. It's also important for me to bring my own core values into the situation to help guide my thoughts and my behaviors.
I believe it's important to be self-aware as a leader so that you're really looking at everything in a 360-degree angle.
I think it's important to be self-aware as a person, just in general, but for a leader probably more so. But I think if you don't know yourself and you're not aware of your shortcomings, we all have them, then you can't work to improve them. You're not aware of their impact on other people. So I think it's critically important to kind of know yourself so you can improve, but also so you know how your shortcomings may impact other people.
So it's important for me to be other aware as a leader so that when I think about responding more than reacting in most situations, I'm thinking about the other person's well-being as well as my own. And I'm thinking about what's the long-term impact of my response to a situation. So in a way, it helps me do what I've done for many years, which is to be really interested in somebody else's story. What is most important to them? What are the challenges that they face? What are the dreams they think about? In that way, my role as a leader is to create the space for someone to live out to their fullest potential.
Heart to Heart put on a mindful leadership class to which I engaged in, and it really helped me take the time to stop, to breathe, and to be more self-aware through my breathing, and also before I react. It also allows me to just be, and before I react to others, to really be able to use my leadership qualities to impact others.
And I would say that the group itself that Heart to Heart convened for the experience was just as important as the material that we were learning. We were all on this journey together, as were the instructors, in a really authentic way, and it allowed me to be vulnerable in a professional setting to really reflect on my own behaviors.
There are a lot of benefits to being involved with Heart to Heart, but I hope one of them is that I have the capacity to ask for forgiveness from a lot of people who feel that I may have hurt them or whom I may really have hurt with actions. And I think that the benefits help all CEOs understand that we're working with people who are really doing their best. And I've gotten other people involved with the Heart to Heart program, and I just think it's a great way for our whole company to be working together.
You know, the benefits, ongoing benefits are, it just helps me continue to make progress. I am a person who always feels like they have to be perfect, and so it's not about being perfect, it's about making progress.
As you just have heard, yes, great video. As you just have heard, awareness begins with taking the time and space for reflection through purposeful pauses, which is a signature strength of Heart to Heart. Last year, Heart to Heart developed a mindful leadership series that has already impacted over 100 lives that we heard from Jeremy. I would now like to invite one of those facilitators and our Heart to Heart's Director of Consultative Services, Chris Williams, to lead us in a true Heart to Heart experience.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Many of you have been coming to these breakfasts for a long time, and they're really a pause point for us to raise our awareness as individuals and as leaders and as a community that values matter. What we're going to be doing today is a purposeful pause. And in that purposeful pause, we'll be taking a look at our own core values, which it's so easy to lose sight of in our very busy lives. And these core values are the very things that are anchoring us in terms of who we are, what we're about, what we stand for, and the choices that we make. So what I'm asking you to do with me today is take a very brief but purposeful pause and join me in an activity where all you have to do is relax, breathe, and just allow yourself, without judgment, to pay attention to any thoughts and feelings that emerge. And so what we're going to be doing is reflecting on those core values. So you ready? All right, here we go. Okay, first of all, loosen yourselves up and just get comfortable in your chairs. And what I'm going to ask you to do next is to just sit preferably with your feet on the floor and your spines comfortably straight. And now I'm going to ask you, okay, this is a stretch some, but now I'm going to ask you to just take a big deep breath and close your eyes. And if you prefer, you can leave your eyes open and just cast them downward. So at this point, just take a few seconds and just enjoy having nothing to do. Now bring your attention to your breath, feeling the sensations of the in-breath and the out-breath. As thoughts enter your mind, and they will, allow them to pass by merely redirecting your attention to your breath. As your body and mind settle into this stillness, silently ask yourself these questions about your values. What values are at the core of who I am and how I want to lead? What values am I passionate about? What values form the rudder that I can turn to when the complexities of life serve up a rocky sea? I'm going to repeat those. What values are at the core of who I am and how I want to lead? What values am I passionate about? What values form the rudder that I can turn to when in the complexities of life serve up a rocky sea? Be open and curious. Leave space for your answers to arise. Set aside the first few reflexive responses and let go of the logical mind that may begin to analyze the questions. Rather, allow time and space for responses to arise from deep within. The answers already exist. They just might take time to work their way through the busy mind and the years of being told how to be a successful leader. Pay attention to any bodily sensations you may notice during the reflection. They may be helpful in discovering your answers to the question. Be patient. All right, and when you're ready, if you just open your eyes. And we're asking that just for about 3 minutes, if you would turn to one or two people at your table and share what came up for you during this reflection. All right? So please, go ahead. Okay, if I could have your attention again. I think there were a lot of interesting conversations taking place. You know, when my colleague John Roper and I have done this with various community members, this very same activity, many of which are here in this room today, we find certain consistencies. One is that people are often surprised at how quickly they can move into this space with just a brief pause. And also it sort of transcends the mind and goes to a special place, perhaps in the heart. Second of all is that our core values run deep. And third, and this is very interesting, that the three most consistent answers that we hear, somewhat to the surprise of some of our folks, are number one, love, number two, kindness, and number three, wanting to make a difference. So, what we ask of you now is actually to invite you, encourage you to use this anytime, anywhere, purposeful pause to help just bring you back to a point of awareness and authenticity, and most of all, to pay attention to what really matters most to us. Thank you. Oh, I take this back. See ya.
Thank you so much, Chris, for starting off our week with such a wonderful, purposeful pause and allowing us all to kind of reconnect with ourselves. I know everyone probably had a busy weekend, and it's an early morning, but this is a great way to start that off. So thank you, Chris. So now I would like to welcome Reverend Dr. Ronald J. Fowler to the stage for our invocation this morning.
Would you join me in giving thanks to our Lord? Bow your heads, please. We rise, our Father, in gratitude for your gifts of love and life. We are indeed grateful debtors to those who made the ultimate sacrifice for the liberties that we enjoy. But we're indebted to nameless groups of people who produce the food that we eat and the fellowship that we enjoy. Thanks, Lord, for giving us an opportunity to get in touch with our core values. Thanks for giving leadership to this organization that embodies the best of what we can be. How grateful we are for Father Norm and Larry Villeman, their vision, their dream, their stewardship of a great idea that is only flourishing under the present leadership of others. We ask that you would guide us so that we individually and collectively might continuously seek to do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with you. Thanks for our gifted speaker this morning. We await his word with high expectation. Thanks for enabling this organization to expand ownership of its mission and deepen the depths of those who are participating in helping others recover their core values and live them out. These things we ask in the name of my Redeemer, Jesus, amen.
Thank you for your blessing this morning and your leadership in our communion, Reverend Fowler. We would now like to welcome the Mayor of Akron, the Honorable Dan Horrigan, and the County Executive, Eileen Shapiro, to give their greetings.
Well, good morning and thank you. Chris, I want to thank you for giving me that brief moment to respite, be able to breathe, relax, and live without judgment at some particular point during the day. First, good morning and welcome to the breakfast. I'm honored to be part of this event, which we look forward to every year. It's a chance for all of us, everyone, to leave encouraged, refreshed, and even more inspired to advance our core values in our community. When I saw the topic for today's speech, everything that matters that can't be measured, it got me thinking about what truly matters in my life and in my career, and it's ultimately the people and my family. As an individual, it's my family and friends, and as a leader, it's the citizens I serve. At some particular point, public service involves self-sacrifice, and to me, I'm proud to work every day with other leaders in this community who share the same commitment to putting people first. I believe that shared communities and shared commitments allow us to build a stronger and more equitable community right here in this great city. Our city has a well-earned reputation for collaboration and true coordination across many sectors of our community, including nonprofits and government. I'm proud to support Heart-to-Heart Communications and all the work they do over the last 26 years to further that mission right here in the city. I want to take a moment to thank each of you for being here this morning. I know it's Monday and I know it's early, but simply by showing up and joining the conversation, you're helping to foster that sense of unity and a positive momentum here in the city. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention whatever issue is out there or whatever person that you support. There are important elections coming up in about 8 days, and I encourage all of you to get out there and support those issues and those people. So thank you to each and every one of you, and to Heart to Heart, and enjoy the remainder of the breakfast. Thank you, and God bless.
Good morning, all, and it is wonderful to see so many bright-eyed people at 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning. So thank you all for coming out. And thank you to Heart Communications, not only for their work today, but the work that you've done over the past 26 years. It's going on 26? Was 25? Yeah, give or take. The clients that they serve include some of our largest corporations and nonprofits, and they work every single day to make a difference in our community. With their expertise and support, our community has grown and become even more welcoming, more aware, and a more authentic place. Intangibles like engagement, empathy, and enthusiasm mean so much to so many. We at the county strive to embrace that, but we can only do that because of all of you. You can't put a price or you can't measure the smile on a young person's face when they haven't had food and you put a hot meal in front of them. And you can't measure the difference when a senior who's striving to stay in their own home finds a way to be able to stay independent. And you can't measure the joy that somebody feels when they've been out of work and called back or gotten a new opportunity in life to create something for their family, earn a living, and make a difference in their own home and in their community. So with over 541,000 people in Summit County, we do know that our greatest asset is our people. And with today's theme being everything that matters cannot be measured, I need to pause and tell you, as I know many of my colleagues do, that we are grateful, we have gratitude for your support enabling us to lead your community in a way that can take us forward. Thank you, everybody, and keep up the good work. We love our community, and we are very proud. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for those inspiring words and welcome. We are definitely so appreciative of your leadership and your appreciative leadership as the executive and mayor. So as Heart to Heart continues to coach and consult with individuals and organizations in the Heart to Heart way, we acknowledge the importance of developing an appreciation for one's own strengths as well as for the unique strengths of others. Developing an appreciative mindset is integral to being your best at work and actually in all of life. So let's hear about that.
We were privileged to be able to bring in Heart to help us with some team building. And it really gave us an appreciation for understanding each other's skills, some of our strengths, some of our weaknesses. And we've learned to try to implement some of the skills we've learned or some of the traits that were discovered in each of us just by continuing some of the training during our departmental meetings from week to week, from month to month, wouldn't you say?
Yes. I thought for me, one of the things I appreciated when discovering my own strengths is basically realizing I didn't have to be strong in every area. And so for me, that took some of the load off, and I know that if I'm not strong in this area, I know which one of my team members who are strong in that area, and I can go to them, and we can really partner and work more collaboratively.
I appreciated learning each other's strengths in the department, to learn from one another. Also realizing with myself again that I am unique, and it's okay to be unique at work. Oftentimes we forget about our personalities and that we are bringing different skill sets to the table. So it was nice to really lay out everybody's different strengths and be able to put your teams together accordingly. So we know if we have a specific task, now we know who to go to and who's gonna excel in that area with that particular assignment, and who's gonna be excited about it because it's actually putting their strengths to work.
Participating in Heart to Heart, learning a little bit more about myself, some new skills that I developed. It was just more within myself. I know that goes without saying, but it was understanding my own story so I can appreciate other people's stories. And that was something that I learned. I knew about it beforehand, but I think the more I got to know, the more I got to participate in the Leadership from Within class, it really helped kind of open my eyes up and hopefully make me a better leader in the future.
Well, the strengths I started to appreciate more in others as a result of the Enneagram was kind of interesting. We put our entire staff through the Enneagram, and the reason we did so was because we are heading into a couple of really busy years. We're building 2 new exhibits. We will go through accreditation, and we have a levy campaign to start. So those are big initiatives for staff, and we know we're going to be pulling on their time, and what we wanted was for them to have good relationships with each other. So Chris and Jeremy suggested we do the Enneagram.
So from the Heart to Heart program, I learned a lot about others and kind of developed a better appreciation for who they are around their stories, really where their strengths are. Rather than looking at weaknesses and focusing on those, really being able to use their strengths to their advantage and empower those individuals was something that I was able to glean from the Heart to Heart programs.
Well, you know, number one, appreciation is important in the workplace because it helps people understand one another, which, you know, that common understanding can have a positive effect on the workplace, I feel, where people are more collaborative, they're cooperating, and they have better relationships.
And for me, it was very interesting in the Enneagram also, because my number 1 was a 9 or a peacemaker. And on the surface, that really reflected who I am and who I've always thought I was. But there was an interesting element to it. What I never stopped to think about is what really frustrates me. And the fact that as a peacemaker, I push anger down until one day it may just go boom. And this became very obvious as we were kind of pulling all of this out, and I thought about many of the experiences I've had across my life, because I'm generally not an angry person, and sometimes I surprise myself. And to see that come out as a result of this particular tool, which I'd never been exposed to before Chris and Jeremy talked to us about this, I really had no clue what the Enneagram was. And being able to acknowledge those feelings lets you work through them much more quickly. So I found it very useful.
Well, in my work in service to the community, I've really honed in on, you know, that appreciative inquiry point of view, really in terms of understanding how, you know, by working with partners and understanding their point of view, how we can come together and actually, you know, do more for our community so that, in my case, our children, you know, in the city of Akron are served better.
Appreciation can go a very long way, and it's so powerful to hear about how Heart to Heart is helping creating that sense of appreciation in individuals and for those that they're working with. So when we're talking about appreciation, when we asked Billy Taylor who would be ideal to introduce him this morning at our breakfast, we could see the gratitude in his eyes when he said, "My nephew." So it is with great pleasure and honor to introduce Frederick Pratt.
God. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's truly an honor to be here today and introduce our keynote speaker. Many may know him as Billy Taylor, but I call him Billy T. I contacted my uncle about 2 months ago, and I told him that I was interested in actually hearing him speak. He contacted me, and he said, hey, I have a big opportunity for you. If anybody knows, Uncle Billy T always have something up his sleeve. So I listen and I say, what is it? He said, you're gonna speak in front of 580 people. I'm at work, I sunk down into my chair, and I got to thinking, what am I gonna say here? My uncle, he actually sent me the Heart to Heart program, and I don't think there was too much to actually be written. So that's what I'm gonna speak from my heart to your heart. Growing up in the inner city, there wasn't many ways out. We had 2 ways out. It's either play ball or grab a mic. My Uncle Billy T, he wasn't directed to those parameters, or he wasn't gonna take those parameters. He built himself his own intersection, which many like myself follow. I had admired my Uncle Billy T growing up, from the waves in his hair to the way he dressed, and also being the first in my generation to go to college and pursue a career. Uncle Billy T wasn't many role models in our community, but my uncle, he came back, and he also placed that apple tree for many like myself to eat from. Today, I continue to eat from that tree, but when I eat those apples now, I drop those seeds to be planted for others that come after me. So today, heart to heart, can you please give my Uncle Billy T a warm welcome? Thank you.
Wow, how do you follow that? But giving honor to God, I'm blessed to be here and I'm humble. Thank you all for supporting me. Thank you to my wife, Rachel, my Goodyear friends. What I want to talk to you about today, the focus of the message, is everything that matters. See, in my career at Goodyear, when I first started out, it was embedded in my head through workshops, mentors, and just career advice that if I was ever going to be successful, it was important that I measured what mattered. But as I progressed through 30 years, what I validated was everything that matters cannot be measured. I have a couple examples here today. When I speak, I like to prove out these concepts with facts. And just bear with me, please. I have before you 2 balloons. They appear to be identical in shape, size, and stature. But which one will rise to great heights in life, and which one will fall and focus on excuses and self-pity? As I release these balloons, please identify which one closely resembles you. See, one of these balloons are full of nothing. No hope, no passion, very little drive. But it looks good on the outside. But this balloon will rise above adversity and challenges that come with life. See, as a young man, as my nephew talked about growing up as an inner city, I thought I was going to play in the NFL. I was a good athlete. 6 touchdowns a game. I had a nickname, BT Express. Touchdown Taylor. Pause with me for a minute. Let me put on a couple of rings from back in the day so I can reminisce. See, like you, the older I get, the better I was. Right. See, I would line up in that backfield, and they'd pitch me the ball before I could even start running. The band played the fight song. Touchdown. And I told my mother, I said, Mom, I'm going to play in the NFL. My mother said, that's not the standard in this house. And if you make anything less than a B, NFL in this house means not for long will you be playing. But just like any young person, I tested her. And when grades came out, we were undefeated going into the city championship, and report cards came out, and I had all A's and 1 F. And back then, they didn't have computers, so the teachers wrote your grades in pen. And as any smart 8th grader, I took my pen and changed that F to a B. And when she found out, I remember sitting on that little twin bed, and she walks in the room and she says, baby, this doesn't look right. You're done. I said, Ma, no way. We play for the city championship in 2 weeks. She says, you're done. See, it's about values and standards, young man, and commitment. The principal comes by the house, the athletic director comes by the house, the coach comes by the house, they're begging and pleading with her to let me play. And she says to them, if you're not here to talk to me about that F, I won't have to ask you to leave. I remember sitting on the couch watching my best friend walk by to go play that game. We were favored by 2 touchdowns. They lost that game 54-0. Best decision she ever made in my life. You know why? She had standards and values. And that's what matters. My assistant sent me an email once about this coach, John Scalinas. And the message of this coach was about standards. See, this baseball plate is 17 inches. If you play Little League baseball, high school baseball, or Major League baseball, this plate is 17 inches. And if a pitcher cannot get the ball across the plate, the umpire doesn't widen the plate. How many of you widen the plate when it comes to your best employee, your children, rather than hold them to the standard? See, great coaches, great leaders like my aunt, sometimes you have to have the courage to call it out. My mother would not allow me to play that game. My best friend, as he walked by, he came to see me, and they were all mad at me. And for years, I wondered, how much had I interrupted their life? Well, at my best friend's funeral, all of us were around the coffin, and all my friends shared with me how much they envied me because my mother held me to a higher standard. See, those things are hard. But to do those things around values and standards, you must trust yourself. How many of you trust yourself? Question. If a bird lands on the branch, does the bird trust the branch, or does the bird trust its wings? Clue. I've seen many birds land on branches, but what I've never seen is a branch break and the bird fall and die. But most of us don't have the courage to step out on the ledge when you can't see the next step. We get caught up in things around, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, my mother didn't believe that either. See, I know many people I know LeBron James. I know Michael Jordan. I know Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Barack Obama. I even know Oprah Winfrey and Martha Stewart. But I have one small problem. They don't know me. So why aren't you focusing on things to be known for? Trust yourself. And as you go through your career, it's about ownership. Again, I was once asked, did I believe in the glass ceiling? Do it exist? Absolutely exists. But you know what? The glass ceiling was never my biggest challenge. My biggest challenge was the sticky floor. Things that I could control. Things that I could focus on. I remember going to my first interview right out of college with Pepsi Cola. I'm an honor student. I'm on the dean's list, electrical engineering. I somewhat felt entitled. Being an African American, great grades, you should give me the job. I show up to the interview. I didn't iron my shirt. I didn't lay out my suit. I had no ownership. And when I show up to the interview, I walk in, I look at the person. Hi, how are you doing? Have a seat. Sure. Tell me about my company. You make soft drinks. Because I didn't own it, I did not prepare. And here's where he really stumped me. He says, tell me, how diverse are we as a company? Because I didn't do my homework, I didn't prepare, which was on me, I struggled to answer that question. So I tried to buy a little time and said, could you repeat that again? He says, how diverse are we? He's expecting me to say, we own Frito-Lay, Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's our portfolio. Now I'm starting to sweat because I didn't prepare. How diverse are we? He says. I gave it my best shot. I said, you put your products in a can and a bottle. He says, young man, that's the worst interview and worst answer I've ever heard. The only thing you did right was not lie. He says, but I like you. I'm going to invite you back for another interview in my office, one-on-one. Between that interview and the next Pepsi interview, I interviewed with Goodyear. Let's talk about how that interview went. Extreme ownership. I think I earned that shirt 3 times. Laid it out, went to the library, got these brochures. I had a whole stack of them. Couldn't wait to get to the interview. I walk in the interview, I see the gentleman, I grab his hand. Have a seat, tell me about my company. Sure. Pop that briefcase out, put the stack of brochures on the corner of the desk. You operate in 4 regions, North America, Latin America, Europe, and Asia. You're almost taken over by Goldsmith. Here's what your stock prices are. Here's what your forecasts are. He's looking at me like, where did this kid come from? And when I finished, I walked out. He says, we're going to interview 5 more people. We'll get back with you in 2 weeks. I was in Chicago. I was going to spend the weekend. It was in Illinois. The next day, they called my house, and my mother answered the phone. Ring. Wasn't any caller ID back then. Ring. Hello. Is Billy Taylor in? No, he isn't. May I take a message? Yes, this is Goodyear. Well, good. How did he do? It says, well, he did all right. That's good. Well, are you going to offer him a job or what? They says, well, we like to talk to him about that. Well, listen, he's going to talk to me about it, so you might as well tell me now. They said, yes, ma'am, we're going to offer him the job. Good, he'll take it. When does he start? 30 years later, I'm still here. But the point I want to make is, one was entitlement, one was ownership. So what we're going to do, I want everybody, you're going to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And those at the back, I want you to please watch the screen. I'm going to ask you to stand up. I'm going to give you the standard. We're going to exercise. Be very clear what I want you to do. I'm going to demonstrate. We're going to put our hands up. We're going to go to the left, count of 3. We're going to go to the right, count of 3. We're going to come back in the middle, do spirit fingers. And then on the count of 3, we're going to clap and wake our body up. But before you get started, 5% of you are about to fail. Some of you are not even going to even try because I told you you're going to fail. And what you're going to see is what happens in real life. But if I didn't have you go through this exercise, you wouldn't believe it. Because in the absence of ownership comes blame. So please stand up. Here we go. Hands up. Beautiful picture. To the left. 1, 2, 3. To the right. 1, 2, 3. In the middle. Spirit fingers. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now, I clearly said clap on 3. Why did you clap on 2? Somebody tell me. Judy, why? Oh, you follow me, so you're going to blame me because you can't focus. I know, and I'm glad. People will follow what you do before they follow what you say. How often are you modeling the way? Do you create a culture where someone can walk up to you and say, Mr. Taylor, you said clap on 3, but you clapped on 2. Are you bigger than the process? That's how you build culture. Please have a seat. One of the things I talk about is having values and believing in you. I have a saying, if you make people visible, they'll make you valuable. Our CEO, Rich Kramer, outstanding leader, outstanding man, and has been a role model in my life and a mentor. I would take assignments that others didn't take. But what people didn't know, Rich Kramer would send me handwritten letters of encouragement, handwritten letters around small accomplishments. He would reach out on the phone and call me. When I first moved to Akron, I remember getting a phone call, looking at my caller ID, it says Rich Kramer. And when the CEO calls you, that's like a horror movie. And he came down and we talked about football. We talked about Rachel. We talked about my kids, Alex. We didn't talk about EBIT. That's the best retention tool you can have. It's about being inclusive. Inclusive. I'm going to close with a story where I learned the most as a leader. I was coaching high school track. And we were a good team on the local level. Now let me give you the demographics of my relay team. I had 3 white girls and 1 little black girl. And we did great on the local scene, but we had to go into Chicago and compete. And so I dropped them off and I said, go ahead and warm up. And when we finish warming up, I'll be here and we'll go ahead and start to go through our exchanges. When I show up, they're not warming up. And I walk up and I ask, why? Fear has set in. Fear. Our greatest fear is not failure, it's what people think of us. That's our greatest fear. And so I said, what are you doing? And there's one smart one in every group. Coach, you didn't tell us. We were number 49 out of 50 teams. What does that matter? What does that matter? I'm going to be very clear to you. Them black girls fast, coach. So let's get in the car. I take them back to the little dorm. Go to your room and talk this out and come back and convince me that you're going to compete. They go to their room. The little black girl French braids the little white girl's hair. and they come back looking like 3 little white black girls. You think that's gonna make you run faster? Go back to your room and then come back and let's talk about a real strategy. She says, Coach, give me your rule book. So they get my rule book, they go back, and they come down the next morning, and they're serious, looking like 3 little white black girls. She says, Coach, we have one other thing we'd like to ask you for. We'd like to change the order of the relay team. We want to put the fastest girl first, the second fastest girl second, the third fastest girl third, and we want to put the donkey on the end. You can't call her that. She came up with it, Coach. And I said, no. No. Same girls, same mindset, same place. Last. My assistant coach looked at me and he says, you always told them to trust you. It's time for you to trust them. So they go to the track, they line up, they sound the gun, pow, we're out. Back, boom. We're out front. We should be. I have my fastest girl back, boom. Get to the next, back, boom. And we're going to the final leg. And I'm sitting there, and everybody's watching their mark. And every other team has their thoroughbred, and I have my, And now I'm praying her parents are going to kill me. When my girl hits the mark, my girl leaps out, and she screams, stop! My little anchor says, boom, takes the stick, takes off running. What do you think every other team did? Before they realized what happened, we were 15 meters ahead of everybody. And so at that point, I'm looking for my anchor and my team captain. What were you thinking? You can't do that. And I got that teenage answer. Nowhere in this rule book does it say we can't say stop. It says you have to have a cadence. And if they can't focus, Coach, that's on them. Give me that rule book. I'll deal with you later. I get to the podium. What do you think happened? I became a 16-year-old. Coach, we have to disqualify your team. Where in this rule book does it say you can't say stop? On the way back, I said, no, you cannot break the rules inside the rules. It's about integrity. They cried, they went to their room, they came back to my room and said, Coach, we let us down, we let you down. You believed in us. We never gave ourselves a chance. Put the relay back together, Coach. Let us go out and learn something. They put their order back together, changed their relay up. Pow! First leg, second leg, third leg. By the time we got to our anchor, we're in third place. I'm crying as they come down the runway. I'm crying because that day, Coach was coached. That day, I realized that you're forever a student. And the best leaders are the best students. I want to share something with you about what matters most. I have a couple of slides of my son. Both of my children graduated from St. Vincent St. Mary's. I'm a part of their board, Tom Carone. Most of my board friends are here. And we went to the gym every morning at 5:30 before I went to work. And that's a picture of my son. And he would put up 300 shots a day with a goal of making 60%. Because at that point, we were measuring what mattered. And if he could become a great jump shooter, he could play. Well, the picture there is when the last day, and they were traveling to Columbus. I had to leave and go to a meeting. So I had to leave early. He called me to tell me what percentage he had shot. If you look at that picture, he's sad. His best day ever, he's sad. And when he called me, he says, Dad, it didn't mean much because you weren't there. And Dad, I realized at that point what mattered was our relationship. And this was never about basketball. See, Dad, I will never remember all the games you came to. But what I realized at that moment, I'll never forget the ones you missed. And often we get caught up in our careers, we get caught up in those day-to-day things, and we forget what really matters. And so when they played that final game and they won the state championship and the buzzer went off and all the rest of his teammates ran over there to cut down the net and they ran over there to get inside the photo and hold the trophy, my son ran to the rail to talk to his father, and we cried for 5 minutes. See, when I thought we were measuring what matters most was our relationship. As you can see the text, he said, "Dad, you don't know how much you mean to me." And as I responded back to him, my love for you is incomprehensible. I'm grateful God blessed me to be your father. See, that's what mattered most. And as I close, this bowl of M&Ms have different colors, different shapes, different sizes. But if you close your eyes and open your mind and reach in, the only thing that matters is what's inside. Thank you, and God bless.
I told you all you were in for a real treat this morning, so thank you, Billy. And we have a small gift here, just as a sign and a symbol of our appreciation. It's an ivory sewn stope of two hearts intersecting, just to remind you of this moment and remind all of us of just what an inspiration you've been to us this morning and moving forward. And also a donation will be made in your honor. So we're grateful for you and your presence here with us today, and thank you so much. Thank you, Jim. Put the rest of your friends.
All right, I'm picking this up before I fall. All right. Well, wow. That's all I have. That was absolutely incredible, Billy. The authenticity that I think we all just experienced up on this stage is going to be unforgettable. So what a way to start a Monday with a purposeful pause and then really hearing some wonderful lessons of how do we focus on what's from within that's going to make that difference for us as a community, as leaders, and as individuals. So now I'd just like to take a moment to show you a video around authenticity, because that's really what we bring to the table as individuals. So play the video.
What's going to continue to make me grow and develop as a leader is being myself and being authentic, and being that true authentic leader that allows my own demeanor and personality to be what drives the way people interact and work with me, and how I can continue to be inspired and learn. And I think that's such a big thing, because I think as young professionals come through and you're on that path of leadership, I think one of the things that you think about is, I have mentors, I have people that have helped me get there, I need to be like them. And the reality is you need to learn from them, but you need to be yourself. And I think that's where that really critical element of authenticity comes in with the work of Heart to Heart in the series that we've been through.
One of the ways I became a more authentic leader was taking some time to think about myself. I think too often in our careers we're focused externally, and I really appreciate that Heart to Heart challenges each of us to think about what's going on within us.
Heart to Heart is a wonderful way to network with other people, not only in your kind of work unit, but in other departments and other components within the community. You start hearing about things going on in people's families. and you learn from that. I've also seen what Heart to Heart's meant here in our town. The annual breakfast that brings 1,000 people together. I mean, not a lot of communities are able to do that. And there's a message that's there each and every year.
I think the program in general, when you think about watching other people develop, it's inherent of the program. So I think, you know, the inside-out model, again, is something that's really important. And as people develop on their professional career, I think oftentimes they think of external. You know, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm showing up right and people notice me and, you know, I can get ahead. But the reality is you have to take care of your inside first. And I think what happens there, and I've watched it with my own team, those tough questions of self-reflection and how you are and how you navigate success and challenges are really things that really force your authenticity out. You know, I think in my own team, I think going through the program as a senior leadership team was really important because it allowed us to look at each other internally first before we started talking about what we look like externally. And clearly, you know, that authenticity is something, when you get to know somebody better, you're going to understand kind of what drives them and who they are from the inside out.
And Knight Foundation's supported a couple workshops called Better Akron Fellows that Jeremy's led. I've been quite impressed to see emerging leaders, people that are often a bit earlier in their career, being given that same space to think about themselves, their own goals, what motivates them each day. And I've seen people come out of it just more focused, and also within any heart-to-heart group, people connect with each other, and I love seeing that too. I think authenticity is important in leadership because people have a pretty good radar for inauthenticity. We're all drawn to people that are the real deal, that are consistent in their professional life and personal life and kind of live the values that they espouse. And Heart to Heart reminds us that we should all aspire to do that basic thing.
The people that participate in our various groups, both on our Akron campus as well as our Youngstown campus, they're the best salesmen of Heart to Heart because they come out of these sessions maybe in the middle of a hectic day and they come back to that hectic environment they're in and they're at peace and their productivity goes up, the way they work with other folks is enhanced. That sells the program. So I just want to make sure this continues to grow because it's touching a lot of lives the right way.
Thank you all for spending your morning with us and your continued support of Heart to Heart. Without all of you, we wouldn't be here today, and you are the reason we do what we do to provide that support in making our community, our organizations, and ourselves better. So to continue the momentum from this morning and in developing yourself and your people and your workplace, check out our program as well as the handouts on your table. You can see what upcoming events are going to be happening here in the next few months, as well as it will tell you where you can connect with Heart to Heart. And you all know that we cannot leave here today without the word of the day, right? Larry. So in our final moments together, we have one last little video about our word of the day, and then we are going to be graced with the presence of the musical sounds of the Akron Corinne Dance Academy. So with that.
Those of you who have been with us before know that my wife has shared the word for the day. Again, this year and in many past years. And usually it's a word that I need to hear, and somehow she knows what we all want to hear. And even though this is somewhat in advance of the actual breakfast, the word for the day is change. And I think somehow she knew that Billy Taylor, will have probably talked to you about his personal and professional investment in the interior life and how that might have changed his perspective in business, in family, or in a larger community. And that kind of comes together with what Heart to Heart believes in. A lot of times organizations, companies, focus a lot on behavioral change, making these external tweakings, to try to accommodate corporate and business life. Heart to Heart is all about the investment on the interior life as being transformative and lasting, and also as perhaps necessitating some change from the inside out, as maybe Billy also talked about. I'm sure we've all heard Gandhi say that we must be the change we wish to see in the world. And maybe as we're leaving this breakfast, we might think, what do I need to do? Where might each of us need to move beyond our comfort zones? To do some things which may not be all that convenient. But if we do it from the inside out, if we reflect upon our values, reflect with people authentically, then I'm sure that we will grow in ways that will affect change not only in us and the way we do things, but in the larger community in a real positive way. God bless you. Thanks for being with us, and I thank my wife too for continuing to be an inspiration for me, even if it's just a word for the day. God bless you.
right, well, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. Please take the messages of authenticity, of appreciation and awareness with you to be at your best as a leader and as yourself this week and ongoing into the future. So thank you again, Billy, for your inspiration. So have a wonderful week.